Today is Thursday, May 19th. What to know about the first Russian soldier to plead guilty to a war crime. And we're talking about why social media companies might be facing consequences for the racist attack in Buffalo. Also, a new announcement about that controversial government disinformation board. Plus, another big step to help fix the baby formula shortage, a huge win for women's soccer in their fight for equal pay. And which new tools are coming to TikTok to give credit to the original creators of the most popular trends. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Once again, the American flag is flying over the Ukrainian capital. The U.S. reopened its embassy in Kyiv for the first time in 3 months. Remember, it first closed because there were fears Russia would invade Ukraine. Well, now that invasion is happening, and it's just as brutal as ever. But because of that, officials in the U.S. say there needs to be American support there for Ukrainians. So the embassy will have more security measures in place for the small number of diplomats who will work out of there. The embassy is being guarded by the Ukrainian National Guard and police forces. Also happening in Ukraine, the first war crimes trial against a Russian soldier since the invasion began. And yesterday, he pleaded guilty to killing an unarmed civilian. For that, he could get life in prison. The Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office is also looking into thousands of potential war crimes involving more than 600 other suspects. Also this week, the International Criminal Court sent what it called the largest ever single deployment of war crimes investigators into Ukraine. They are tasked with finding more evidence. The Russian government, though, has insisted it is not guilty of any war crimes. To be continued. Back in the U.S., social media platforms are being investigated in connection to a recent racist mass shooting. The New York Attorney General wants to know if they helped the shooter plan, promote, and stream the attack. The man suspected of killing 10 people in Buffalo, New York, said he was influenced by racist memes and discussion forums on the site 4chan. Then he outlined plans for the attack on the messaging platform Discord, and he broadcast the violence on the Amazon-owned streaming site Twitch. Twitch says it took down the feed within 2 minutes, but the graphic footage had already spread across the internet, and since then, the videos had been viewed millions of times. So the New York Attorney General's office is going to look into 4chan, Discord, Twitch, and more. Discord says it will cooperate with this investigation, and so far, representatives for Twitch and 4chan have not commented. So remember earlier this month when we told you about the Disinformation Governance Board? The federal government said it was meant to fight the spread of misleading or false information that could have real-life consequences. But it faced a lot of backlash, with questions over what the board would actually do on a daily basis, and some critics worried it would be used to censor free speech. Well, now, just about 3 weeks after it was formed, the task force is on hold and under review. The department says the criticism has become a distraction from other important work. And the disinformation expert who was tapped to run it resigned, citing vile personal attacks and physical threats. Advisors are looking into how the board will be able to deal with disinformation while also protecting free speech and privacy. And the review will look how to increase transparency of the board's work. That review is set to be done within the next few months. It will give the federal government recommendations about how to move forward. One of the most closely watched races of this week's midterm primary elections is still up in the air. We're talking about the Republican Senate primary in Pennsylvania. The winner could either be celebrity surgeon Dr. Mehmet Oz or former hedge fund executive David McCormick. But the votes are still being counted, and they might have to be counted again. Pennsylvania state law says if the margin of victory is within 0.5 percentage point, there will have to be a recount. Well, as of this morning, 96% of the ballots are counted, and it looks like Oz is leading by just about 0.2 percentage point. Bottom line, it's still too close to call. No matter who wins, this is also expected to be one of the Republicans' most competitive races with the Democrats this fall. On the Democratic side, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman won his party's nomination, even though at the time of the primary election, he was in the hospital recovering from a stroke. Fetterman was up against current Congressman Connor Lamb and won by more than 30 points. Congressman Lamb was not the only incumbent to lose his primary and, of course, the chance to stay in Congress. The youngest member of Congress, Madison Cawthorn, failed to hold on to his House seat after a series of controversies in his first term. The latest wave of COVID-19 is spreading across the U.S. Nationwide, the average number of new confirmed COVID-19 cases has surpassed 100,000 a day for the first time since February. And about 3,000 Americans a day are getting admitted to the hospital with COVID. New cases and hospitalizations are going up mostly in the Northeast right now, but also in the Midwest, Florida, and California. The CDC says right now, about a third of the United States population lives in areas that are considered higher risk. And that means that in those areas, people should consider wearing masks inside. And officials say Americans everywhere should be taking notice because, as the CDC director points out, we've seen time and time again that infections travel across the country quickly. But officials are still not making any concrete predictions. All right, we have more news coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Stress is just a part of life, but it can quickly get out of control. I know for me, when I feel overwhelmed with things at both work and at home, and maybe I'm also not getting as much sleep as I would like, well, that kind of stress is just not sustainable. And it can lead to even less sleep and more teeth grinding and headaches. Yep, stress can show up physically too. So I found ways to manage my stress better with things like short meditations, getting outside, spending time with friends, and talking with a therapist can help too. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. Give it a try and see if online therapy can help lower your stress. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the Newsworthy listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/newsworthy. That's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/newsworthy. The White House is taking new steps to try and deal with the nationwide shortage of baby formula. President Biden invoked what's called the Defense Production Act. It's the law that lets the White House order private companies to do something when it's for the good of the country. And in this case, it means the suppliers of key ingredients in baby formula are now required to give their resources to formula manufacturing plants before sending them to any other customers. On top of that, the president announced Operation Fly Formula. It means Defense Department aircraft will pick up formula from overseas that meets U.S. health and safety standards so it can get to the shelves in U.S. stores faster. As a reminder, this shortage started because of supply chain issues, and then it got worse when there was a recall impacting the nation's largest manufacturer of formula. Wall Street had a tough day. Yesterday, both the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones saw their biggest losses since 2020. And this time, major retailers led the drop. Target and Walmart have both recently reported that high costs and inflation have affected profits and forecasts for the future. And that's despite customers still buying. For example, the higher prices for fuel is cutting into their profits. Just yesterday, AAA said gas prices in the U.S. pushed to a new high. It all has investors worried on top of rising interest rates and inflation and the war in Ukraine. It's been a long time coming, but history was just made in American soccer. For the first time, the U.S. Soccer Federation agreed to pay both the national men's and women's teams equally. So to appear in official competitions like the World Cup, the men and women will get identical appearance fees. And they'll have the exact same performance-based bonuses for all games and competitions, because they'll be pooling their winnings together. And that makes U.S. Soccer the first federation in the world to equalize FIFA World Cup prize money. In another first, the revenue from broadcasting, partnerships, and sponsorships will be split 50-50 between the men's and women's teams. They'll get an equal cut of ticket revenue. And there are agreements to improve player health and safety and a lot more. This all comes just a few months after the U.S. women's team and U.S. Soccer agreed to resolve their equal pay dispute that dated back to 2016. Some women filed a federal complaint saying they were paid less than the men, even though they were generating more income for the U.S. Soccer Federation. The U.S. women are the most successful team in international women's soccer, having won 4 World Cups. The U.S. men have never won a World Cup. These new deals run through 2028, covering the next 2 World Cups and Olympic cycles. Most of the best golfers in the world are coming together today for the PGA Championship. Some of the headliners include Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and Jordan Spieth, not to mention the reigning Masters champion, Scottie Scheffler, who is still ranked number 1. So Scheffler is considered the favorite. Tens of thousands of fans are going to be watching all the action in person at the Southern Hills Country Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. For those watching from home, it'll be on either ESPN or CBS. The tournament wraps up on Sunday. TikTok is testing a new ad format. It encourages creators and influencers with as little as 1,000 followers to take part in challenges for brands, or branded missions as they're called. These creators won't actually get paid unless their videos perform well. And then, if they make the cut and are at least 18 years old, the brand will pay the creators with cash and boost traffic to their account. It's essentially crowdsourcing ad campaigns. And speaking of TikTok, it's adding new tools to encourage users to directly tag and credit the original creators of a video or trend through a new button in the app. There will also be a new pop-up during the posting process explaining the importance of crediting. For years, some TikTokers, especially within the Black creator community, have felt their ideas and videos have been ripped off. For example, one of the most popular TikTok stars went on a TV talk show and performed popular TikTok dances without giving credit to the mostly Black creators of those trends. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. But first, this podcast is sponsored by Pampers. Changing diapers is just a part of parenthood that we can't avoid. And our kiddos are cute enough that ultimately we're okay with it. But why not make that part of the job as easy as possible on ourselves? Pampers Cruisers 360 Fit has the best fit and protection for your active baby. My little boy Dax is walking these days, which means there's no slowing him down. And I love that the 360 gap-free fit stretches around his waist, moving with him, and they won't gap in the back. Plus, unlike regular taped diapers, Dax cannot pull these diapers off with just one yank. Yep, I, the adult, can because they have easy tear sides, but he can't. Plus, the material feels super soft and comfortable. I can tell my baby loves it too because he's finally stopped tugging at his diaper, and we're seeing fewer rashes, which is key. Cruisers 360 Fit locks wetness away from skin for up to 12 hours, meaning I don't need to worry or get up overnight. And these diapers are hypoallergenic, free of elemental chlorine, bleaching, parabens, and latex. Plus, we're talking about Pampers here, the #1 pediatrician recommended brand. Buy in-store and download the Pampers Club app today to start earning rewards with every diapers and wipes purchase. Now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Next time you go to a concert, it might be on you to generate electricity. Fans of Coldplay are doing that already. The band has found some pretty unique ways to make its tour as environmentally friendly as possible. The pop superstars made some new additions to their concerts, like kinetic dance floors that create electricity when people move on them, and energy-storing stationary bikes. Coldplay's tour also includes a stage made out of recycled steel, biodegradable confetti, compostable wristbands for the audience, and a backstage generator powered by vegetable oil. And the band is actually just one of several musicians who have promised to go more green lately. Like Harry Styles' recent tour had battery recycling centers, and it donated unused hotel toiletries to shelters. Billie Eilish promised to get rid of 35,000 single-use water bottles from her tour. And the band Massive Attack has decided to only travel by train instead of tour buses. There's also a nonprofit called Reverb that helps bands make their concerts go greener. The founder says it's not an all-or-nothing thing, but that it's most important just to start somewhere. Well, thank you so much for listening today. And keep in mind, you can always read more about any of the news stories we mentioned at thenewsworthy.com/show notes. We'll be back with much more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.